What's up, Waffles? Welcome to another episode of There We Are Then. I'm AA Ron,
I'm Sam.
and here we are. Today we're kind of talking about loneliness, the loneliness epidemic. Uh, but before we do that, how was your week?
Good. You know, overall, can't complain. Just had Father's Day go by.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I got to go to Kentucky for Father's Day and spend it with Finn, which was awesome. All right. It was our end of year dance recital, uh, which was excruciatingly long. uh, Doors opened at noon. Had to be there by 12:30. Show started at 1. And we were wrapped up with the final end and walking out at about 6.
Whew.
Right? So Act 1, Act 2, and a solo recital. Phenomenal, right? The school is phenomenal. But man, is that a long day of sitting. After a long day of sitting,
Yeah.
followed by a long day of sitting.
Yeah, what's the drive time for you?
It's about 8 hours from northern Michigan to northern Kentucky. Yeah, 8 hours, 400 miles.
That's a haul.
That's a haul.
That's a full day's work of sitting on your bum.
Yes. Wally was good. He just chilled and took up the back of the car. Got a little-
Only the back of the car?
Well, you know,
Yeah.
he tried to get in the front
Yeah.
often. No, dude, you got to get in the back. I can see better.
Yeah. You can't have a pony in the front seat.
No,
No.
of a Mini.
Yeah. No.
No,
No.
no.
Can't have a pony in the front seat of anything, especially a Mini.
Yep.
Yeah.
How was your Father's Day?
It was pretty mellow. I actually did father things. Cleaned up the storage area, put away all the winter stuff. Finally feels like I can do that. And then got out, the summer stuff. And then went out to dinner. So it was good. Had a conversation about possibly, I don't know, have you seen the area out in the backyard behind our house?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all sand back there. So we're thinking about petitioning to put a sand volleyball court back there, which would be cool.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because really, we just have to do a lot of weeding and then turn it over real quick.
Is that an HOA thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an HOA here. It's an association.
Home
Owners Association.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So you drop the hoe.
Yeah.
You just get association.
Yeah. 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 Still the same concept.
Same concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
The hoe's still there.
Yeah. I not my favorite. Not my favorite. Never has been my favorite. Did not know prior to moving in. I felt like it was kept from me because I would have said no. But that's okay. We're here now. It's lovely. It's a lovely neighborhood, lovely neighbors. I love everything about it except for the association. I can put up with that for now.
I lived in an association in my house in Kentucky, and the association was not an association. Like, the subdivision had been there long enough that it had pretty much,
It died.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They took care of the flowers in the front. They took care of the common areas, and they left everybody alone, right? If you were doing something major, right, you had to get approval, but
Yeah.
eh.
For us, it's more, can't park your boat in the front yard for multiple days. They're not like handing out violations for,
Right.
you leave your garbage cans out 2 seconds, Pat. They're not doing that. But still, no, I don't. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it.
I spent some time on an HOA
Mm-hmm.
in a subdivision that I lived in, and it was illuminating, right? Because the subdivision was still under construction, they still had to have the builders as part of the association, which means they're the association. Yeah, they're. It's not a good thing. Homeowners associations, they're all right when they can be, but I know a lot of people that think that's their mission in life.
I understand them. I understand why. I don't necessarily like the idea.
Agreed. Agreed.
Sorry for those of you that are hearing Penny. Leave it.
Penny's lonely.
Leave it. I don't know.
What's the matter, Pennifer?
I'm going to go off screen for a second. I'm going to get her someplace to lay down. I think that might be part of the issue. We can continue though, because
Yeah.
everyone can hear me.
Everybody can hear you.
Come on.
So today we're talking about something a lot of us feel, especially after leaving the uniform. Loneliness. What is it? What really is it? Why is it everywhere? And what the hell do we do about it?
I wish. The mic fell. I'm having all kinds of problems today. Holy smokes. Might be editing this out. No? Just, this is what it's really like, folks. This is what it's really like.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know.
it's real.
Yeah. At least this way, this is what it's like trying to do a podcast when you've got all of the things in a house, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I think affects everyone to a certain degree in our society. I do feel like it's really strongly felt by those who were in the service once they transition out. I actually just had somebody I was stationed with hit me up and let me know he was transitioning out. So I'm going to be following up with him as we go along. Checking in, seeing how he's doing. So, because it's a different experience.
That is for certain. Yeah. You can be surrounded by people and still feel invisible. We've both been there. At some point or another, everybody's there. After the uniform, after the shift, when the noise fades, you're just alone. Today we're talking about the kind of loneliness that creeps in quietly, stays around a little too long, and what the hell you can do about it. It's not just first responders, it's not veterans, it's everyone today, it feels like, right? And we'll get in further into there, but everybody has social media, and that's this connection, but that's just a face. That's one of the masks.
It's. I don't know that I would call that a connection. Social media. I'm not going to quote anything right now because I don't have it off the top of my head. But, most studies actually show that people that are more heavily involved on social media are actually feel more alone, more isolated, more, removed from everything. and you're getting a dopamine hit for every like you get or for every comment you get, but that dopamine hit is minor compared to going out with a group of friends or coworkers or, even just, you know, associates, right?
Right.
Like people going and doing something, actually getting out, right? It's one of the reasons why even on the days I don't want to go, I talk myself into being excited about going to trivia,
Yeah.
about being, you know, because and I'll be perfectly frank, more often than not, I don't want to go to trivia. I would much rather go home.
It's been a long day at work.
Yeah.
There's stuff to do at home,
Yeah.
but you still do it.
I do it because I know that the connections that I am making and have made will provide me with a better, again, I don't want to necessarily say dopamine hit, but it's better for my mental health. It's better overall. I mean, everything I've ever read about it says that, being with other people, humans are not solitary animals. They are,
We've never been solitary animals.
yeah.
Since inception.
Hmm.
We've been in groups.
Yes.
You can't take down a woolly mammoth by yourself.
It's that tribe,
That's that tribe.
right? Always a part of that tribe.
So it's something that it's changed, right? Society has grown, society has progressed.
Faster than our ability to evolve, whether you believe in macro or micro, or our ability to adapt to the changes of society and technology. Technology is rapidly replacing us in so many ways. Things that used to require, multiple people to do, it can now be done by a robot or by a computer or by something else. And that, as we go further and further down that path, which is inevitable, it leaves people feeling less useful, less a part of something.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And that's social media in general. Um, but not to stay on the social media. When, we've talked about this a little bit beforehand, but, when was the first time you ever felt alone after leaving the service? Like, really felt alone? Or have you felt alone? Have you felt, what does loneliness look like for you, for me, for Penny? Is it isolation? Is it feeling misunderstood? Is it being around people and not feeling heard and seen?
For me, I don't know that I have felt alone. And a large part of that for me is because I've got 4 kids. I've got, 5 other humans in my house that I feel a responsibility towards. And so, it's never quiet. And I actually look for that quiet. That's something, right? I would classify myself as an introvert, right? I do not, what's the terminology? Bucket. My bucket does not get filled by going out to trivia or by interacting with other people. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy it. It just means that it is emotionally exhausting for
Right.
me, right? It tires me out. Whereas quiet alone time does fill my bucket. It allows me to shut off my brain and not have to think so to speak. And sometimes that's I'm part of the video game generation. Sometimes that's video games. Sometimes that's reading a book. Sometimes that's what I call going into my nothing box. So I don't know how everybody else is. I'm visual in regards to what I see in my head.
I
Right.
hate your nothing box.
So I have it's
I envy your nothing box.
it's like meditation, right?
Yep.
Everybody's got their thing, right? I used to get that way when we were cleaning guns, right? When after the range, you go, you clean guns. There's a process, there's steps, and you can really just sort of dial in on that,
Yep.
and allow the motions are familiar. You know what you're doing after the first 10 times you do it. The next 500 times you do it, you can turn your brain off. But I have something I call the nothing box. And what it is I have a mental image of a box, right? And the box is just big enough for my shoulders to pass through. And I can lift the lid on the box, set that off to the side. There's a ladder going down, way down. And I get onto the ladder, I grab the lid to the box, and I start going down the ladder. I close the lid, and I go all the way down to the bottom. And at the bottom, it is white. Everything is white except for a wingback chair that's at my parents' house. My mom still has it. And then I sit in the wingback chair, and it's like a form of meditation for me, right? Like I can just quiet. So I don't know that I've been alone. Felt that feeling of loneliness, yes. I can be in a group of people and they all mean well and they're very nice and, a lot of the time, and I think we talked about this in one of the earlier episodes, right? You'll tell people, as you get to meet people, you learn about each other, and then somebody will say, "Oh, well, what's your craziest story?"
I hate that question.
Hate that question.
Hate that question.
I can't speak for everyone. I know I don't like that question. You want to ask me a question? What's the funniest story? What's the silliest thing? What are some pranks you pulled on each other? What are some fun stories you have? Those are great questions. Craziest thing I've ever seen? First off, I already don't like you because you asked me that. Secondly, I'm not going to tell you that because I'm going to kill the mood, especially if it's a good mood, because no one wants to hear about it.
Right.
Right? And you don't have the frame of reference to understand. And I get that. So, there's a lot of grace that I try to have for people in that, right? You don't understand what that question means. To you, you're trying to get a cool story. You're trying to get a cool story, and I appreciate that.
On our side, you're asking us to dig up some of the worst shit we've seen.
Yeah.
Some of the worst shit that we've dealt with and tell you a cool story about it.
At which, yeah.
Right? Oh, I rolled up on this MVA and it was a mess. And then we found the fucking driver. DRT.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a great story.
No. And for those of you that don't know, DRT means dead right there.
Right there. Because he's dead.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do about that.
No.
Yeah, like that is the...
So you get to chew on it and remember it while you tell some other story.
You find another story that's funny or whatever that's not a bad one, but that's in your brain the rest of the day.
Yep.
The rest of the night, the next couple days, weeks even. And so, yeah, I don't get to be me now if I'm around you, right? You've been through, you have the frame of reference. You and I can talk about that stuff and have a conversation on a level playing field. We're on the same page for it, right? And so we understand what sharing that story means. We understand why that story probably needed to be shared. You know, it's so yeah. There's that feeling of, you know, we talked about it earlier. Here's the group,
Right.
right? Right. This is me far removed from the group. I never feel like I shouldn't say never, but I rarely feel like I'm part of the group. And because of that, it can feel lonely. And it also leads itself to, you know, the latter half of my career, I did not make friends,
Right.
right? Like I had my group that I was stationed with, that, right? And having a family and all of that is very busy. There's a lot going on there anyway. But yeah, I did not really go out of my way to make friends, to be a part of a community, because that's going to open doors. That's going to open doors to things that I don't want to open. That's, you know, so yeah, it was just,
Connection you can't handle.
yeah,
Connection you don't want to handle.
yeah,
Yeah. So, in contrast to that, you know, I have, and I'm sure you do too, I have thousands of stories about hilarious shit, right? Like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what's some crazy shit you saw? What's some amazing things you saw, right?
What are the cool things? What are the wins?
I watched a dude half again your size shimmy up a pine tree in the woods because infantrymen get bored. And it wasn't long before this whole pine was just swinging back and forth until it didn't.
Snap, crackle, pop.
And his big ass is laying on the ground, cry laughing. And everybody's like, "Ah, you're stupid!" Right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
I have no problems telling
Yeah.
that. And that brings back, like, man, after that, then we went and we threw dummy grenades through a window and tried for accuracy. Whoever got the highest window, center, fucking got points.
Yeah.
Right? And that's reminding me of the good stuff without having to be like, I remember this crazy fucking day where, I remember that crazy fucking day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck.
You know,
Let me tell you about the guy swing on a pine tree, right?
yeah, like that's so, you know, and you have to wear a mask, right? You have to, and a large part of it is protecting yourself, right? And to a degree, protecting others and those you care about,
Yes.
right? Because I'll tell you, right, that has a negative impact on me, and it makes me more irritable, more agitated, less likely to have a positive response or have that grace that I should have with my family, right? It's more likely to make me pull away from them because I don't want to have that negative response, which creates problems all its own, right?
It does.
You know, now my wife is doing it on her own because I can't be there for that.
Right.
Because I don't have that in me. And to those that ask those questions, I don't blame you. I understand why. But the impact that has on people who are in those types of jobs, you don't necessarily understand what you're asking for. So maybe shift the question to
what you say and how you say it
matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the worst thing you've ever seen? You really want me to talk about dead babies?
Yeah. Yeah. You
want me to kill this mood like that?
Yeah. You want me to talk about pulling out charred body parts and trying to not bring them back to the station so that their families who've been calling all day wanting to know about their son, daughter, husband, wife, mom, dad. You don't want that.
No,
Nobody
you
wants
don't.
that.
Nobody needs that.
No.
That's something that, I think you said being in service to others is all encompassing, right? Um, so that's something that we get, and that's part of the job. We accept it. I did it willingly. Nobody put a gun to my head. I wasn't drafted. I wasn't forced to join the fire department. I wasn't forced to join a law enforcement department. Those were choices that I made. But understanding that those choices that I made are going to leave me a little bit more distraught, broken, different than you, different than you.
Yeah.
And that's hard, right? Because we don't see difference as good anymore, really. A lot of times. I see difference as necessary and it has to be there. Because if we were all the same,
How boring would life be?
how boring would that be?
Yeah.
Right? If we were all gray aliens with the same head and the same eyes and no parts and no mouth. What a really?
How boring.
Aliens, put some color on. Let's go.
Makeup. Hello.
You got those big eyes, accentuate them. Show those babies, right? Put those fake lashes on.
Oh, man.
The Storm Area 51 stuff,
Oh, I loved that.
right?
I loved that.
Like the group that was just going to clap them cheeks. It was like half of the it was half of the plan. And 99% of that was military,
Yeah.
fire, and just hilarious people.
Yeah. People out to have a good time.
Right? Clapping cheeks.
Oh, man. What about you? Right? Our journey was definitely different. Our paths definitely different. For you, when did you start, or did you start to feel alone?
So you're still married, you have your family and all of that. I didn't, right? I was married and then I wasn't. And really, I mean, I'm at a completely different level of parent than you are. My children are 21, 19, 13. So there's only one left at home. But, being a single dad and going to an empty house, right? That's a killer, right? There were many times where I walked in and I was just like, I just don't want to be alone. I don't want to be here. I miss my people. Like, where are my people? You come home after a shit day at the firehouse, and there's nobody there. It's just you and your brain that's gonna do whatever it's gonna do. And for me, that was never super healthy. So, I mean, even still today, I find myself saying, I need to get out of the house. I need to go do something. I need to be around other people, right? So, and part of that is just life. I'm halfway into empty nester, right? There's only one kid left, and she doesn't live with me. She lives in Kentucky. So I am an empty nester. And man, it's kind of lonely, right? But not lonely enough that I'm wanting to rush towards anything or satiate that right the fuck now, right? I'm good with it, and I understand that learning to be alone and being lonely are completely different in my world,
How
right?
so?
You can be alone and not lonely, right? Like you say, you will pop off somewhere and be alone, and that's healing. It's filling your bucket. But being lonely and alone, right? That bucket's still leaking because there's nobody there
And nothing is filling it up.
and nothing is filling it up.
So, yeah.
So it empties quick. But yeah, I mean, ever since my attempt, I have really tried to not be lonely, and I find myself lonely at times and not at all at others, right? You know, I'm going through it right now, right? Changing jobs, moving, starting a business, dealing with my kid not being here and people being dispersed everywhere. And that is a perfectly fertile field to be lonely. But being alone is not being lonely, right? Lonely for me is, it's almost a state of mind, right? I can be alone and not lonely. I can be alone and be lonely. I can be in a group. I can be at work and be completely lonely, right? I feel, and that's not so much being lonely, but not being part of the group, not not being part of, you know, something because you know you say the wrong things or you don't want to say the wrong things. So therapy helps. It's amazing, right? Doing changing therapists and going into more work to try and figure out how to combat this more. But recently, since the start of this, the amount of people who have like just reached out, like, man, I miss you. I miss you too, right? Don't be a stranger. And that's one thing that I feel social media is really good for, right? You can open up Facebox and see everything that somebody else is doing, and it looks amazing. But that's only on a screen. And behind that screen, you don't know what's going on. You know, I went to dinner with a friend earlier, and she was talking about the fact that, you know, she feels like she feels broken because, you know, the holidays, everybody comes over. You have these large meals, and it's all great and wonderful, and that's what it is. And her therapist was like, and that's all bullshit because it's all commercials, right? Because she was referencing commercials and shows and things like that. That's not real. Everybody has shit, right?
Yes.
Like I love The Bear on FX, and in this last or this last season, they show one of their family Christmas, Thanksgiving type meals, and that more resonates with me than the perfectly cooked, ready to eat meal, right? The tumultuousness and stuff like that. So what's behind that screen, you're never gonna know
Unless you reach out.
unless you reach out, right? So yeah, yeah, everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own shit. Even today, in that picturesque world of social media, it ain't picturesque. It's curated. It's what you want to see or what you want to be seen. And for me, the other side of that was, I had started withdrawing. I had started like isolating and whatnot. But my face on the box was, it's all good.
2 big thumbs up.
All solid here. Until I had friends reach out like, you weren't solid, dude. We saw it. Okay, I really wasn't that solid.
What you're talking about isolation, and when you talk about that, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like what I was talking about, that feeling of being outside the circle, or is it that isolation where you start pulling away from everything?
A little bit of both, right? It starts as I don't feel a part of this group. And for some of that was in my own home, right? I don't feel part of this group. So you start pulling away, you start isolating, you start withdrawing, and that makes everything better. For you, because you're not dealing with jack or shit, right? But on the other side, dealing with that jack and shit is amazing, because once you've dealt with it, you know what it looks like, you know when it's coming on, and you can start the defensive process against that. And for me, learning that was huge.
When you talk about defensive processes, what do you mean? Like, I have an idea, but for our viewers and listeners.
So like I said, I feel that wave coming on, and, I will grab my dog and we'll go out somewhere and walk around. And inevitably, because I am who I am, I'm going to start up a conversation, right? I talk really easy. I'm very approachable for the most part, right? Those who see you from a distance and know that you're approachable, versus those who see you at a distance and see you as non-approachable, I'm willing to start that conversation. Let's talk, right? And that brief interaction, that brief connection, and I'm sure this is from Firehouse days, right? Because you're never with your patients you're really trying not to be with your patients for longer than 30 minutes, 40 minutes,
yeah.
An hour, right? Unless you're in the boondocks and you've got that drive to a hospital, you're trying to just get these people good and get them to the hospital. So for me, those quick interactions, those quick blurbs, like I can go to downtown and strike up a conversation with somebody who has a dog similar to mine, right? And that's one of the defensive things, right? I'll reach out to friends and be like, hey, shit's going a little sideways. I could really use a friend. If you've got the time and your shit's not overwhelming you, I'd love to talk, right? And if your shit's overwhelming you, I'd love to talk, right? Right? Because you can, it's that commiserating.
Share the load.
Share the load, right? Because you don't need to carry it all yourself.
Yeah.
And that, for me, has helped a lot. Yeah.
Those are good tactics.
Is that what you were thinking?
I don't know that I have great tactics. Still learning, right? I mean, I'm not even 2 years removed, and in those 2 years, there was a lot. Moved cross country, moved back cross country, right? Not all the way back, but getting kids in school, getting everything going, right? I and I don't know if it's still that defensive, like put it into a box and keep moving, right? That's sort of my mantra, right? And it's kind of a family mantra. It's, oh, things are going wrong. Pick your foot up, move it forward, put it down, do that to the other one. And you just keep doing that until you get through it. And I would not say I'm the best at going back and dealing with those things. Part of the reason why I go to the vet center and see someone to help me work through that. Um, I don't, like I said, I'll go hide. I think we talked about that before we started, right? I'll in very traditional male fashion, I will go disappear to the bathroom for 45 minutes.
Oh,
Or I'll go down into the basement, or I'll go find some thing or some place to be other than where I'm having my issue. Um, so I'm still trying to learn, what I need to do and what helps me. Because it's a big change from that, like I don't even know if we said it out right, but the being in the military, being in a first responder role, being in that kind of lifestyle is all encompassing. It is every aspect of your life. The military, definitely, right? My last unit, I had to live within 30 minutes of my unit. I had to be on call all the time, and I couldn't leave a 30-minute distance from my unit. So when I was home, I wasn't home, right?
right.
The phone, every time my phones rang, they took precedence. Didn't matter if it was family dinner, didn't matter if it was, it literally didn't matter. If the phone rang, I had to answer it. And so the loss of that all-encompassing thing, right? For good or bad, it is all-encompassing, and it leaves a huge void. And what to fill that void with, I don't know yet. Maybe it's Penny, who you guys can probably hear.
Jojo Penny.
Good girl.
You Jojo good girl. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that I have, I'm learning techniques to mitigate the negative responses that I want to have. But I don't know that I felt lonely yet. Right? I will, and maybe for me the loneliness part is when the thoughts start creeping in, right? When you slow down enough that those thoughts, those things that you don't want to deal with start catching up, right? There's a great guy on social media, Mandatory Fun Day. Yeah. Run, right? Because you can outrun your dark thoughts. So you just keep moving. And if you keep moving, they don't catch you. So I know.
You sure about that?
No, I'm not. But that's the thought process, right? So you just keep moving. And even when you're in the middle of those dark thoughts, how do you get through it? You just keep moving. And the part for me is learning how to, okay, I'm in the middle of this stuff. I know I'm a miserable SOB right now. And I'm a miserable SOB to everyone around me. And I might not even recognize it. Sometimes it takes somebody, a friend of mine, somebody to say something. And then I have to be like, oh, yeah, I am being mean. And I don't even think I'm being mean. I feel like I'm joking around, but I'm being mean. Yeah, so I'm still learning how to navigate that,
Yep.
right? To have the awareness of when those things are hitting and being able to go, oh, okay, let's 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 do some things here. Let's be aware of what we're saying. Let's be aware of what we're doing so that we're not being mean to our friends and our family and people around us. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know that I have good techniques. I like the ones that you're talking about, right? That's something that I can put in my toolbox and try out moving forward. Getting out of the house, because I'll tell you this, right? Like one of my favorite places to be is home,
Right.
right? I would much rather be home than almost anywhere else.
I'm usually the same.
Right. Home is safe.
Home is
Home
safe.
is something and you, right? Like it's so, and being out, that's not necessarily unsafe, but you've now added variables that you have to be aware of. And, right, like we've talked about in the past, the need to sit facing the door, right? Seeing what your exits are, seeing how, building an exit strategy so you can get you and the people you're with out if needs be, and what you're going to do if this happens, and the whole what if then, if then, if then, like a computer program,
Right.
right? And so I willfully decide to now sit with my back to the door so I can't see. And it is hard, and I don't like it often, but it has gotten easier and easier the more I've done it.
Right.
So it's doing the hard thing, right? We, do the hard thing. That's what we spent years doing. Do the hard thing. But when it comes to us,
Oh,
we'll do the hard thing to get the job done, but like to improve ourselves,
not happening.
I-
No way.
I'm perfect.
I'm great. I am A-okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem with having an exit strategy at a family dinner.
Nope.
No. Even if it's at somebody's house that you know.
Yep. And having a plan to take care of everybody that's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's
And that's weird at a family dinner.
yeah, that's weird in all situations for most people.
It is.
Yeah.
But not for us.
No, that's just part of what it is. So no, like that, those techniques, right? Those are things that I would look at using moving forward, because I don't know that I have the best skill set with that yet.
Right? Yeah. So why is it so damn common? Why is leaving the service and leaving that structure, that brotherhood identity, why is it so common to be hurtful, I guess? Not so much hurtful, but like, why is it the loss of that part of yourself that contributes to loneliness? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, I would definitely have to say that you said it right. It's a loss, right? And any loss, there's a grieving process, so to speak. But for those who did 4 years, 10 years, 20 years plus, right? The longer you're in, the more that becomes a part of who you are.
Your identity.
Part of it, yeah. I legitimately thought that I took off my work hat when I went home, and Looking back, not so much.
Not so much.
And so it's it. I think, and I think that this happens for people in all walks of life. In our society, work, for good or bad, is a huge part of our lives, right? Huge.
80,000 hours is what we spend working.
So a large part of our life is spent working. And so I think that to a degree, everyone, right, it becomes a part of everyone. And the loss of that, right, it takes away from who you are, right? Whether that's, I'm the breadwinner, or, I can do all of these things because of this job, or, whatever it is, right? These are all things that I feel like everyone has a
Whoa, Penny. Bye, Penny.
Bye, Penny. Sorry about that.
Wow.
I told you this time,
Yeah.
and now she's gonna go. Well, anyway. You're gonna hear that for a minute.
She's checking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's making sure we're all safe. That loss, I think, for somebody in the military, or in a first responder role, becomes greater because it really is all encompassing. It's not just your job, it's your friend group, it's your support network, it's everything, right? The military, I have said it before, I'll say it again, it's kindergarten for adults. Everything is provided for you. You've got health insurance, you've got medical, you've got, everything you need, housing,
food,
everything.
everything.
Everything is taken care of.
And it's all centrally located in one spot.
If you're at if you're on a large enough base, yes.
Yeah.
So and all of these things are provided for you, and losing that, it can be difficult, right? You become, what's the word I'm looking for? Not inundated, but institutionalized. If you're in long enough, right? Oh, it's 5 o'clock. It's time to go to the chow hall. Oh, it's 5:30. I got to get up. Breakfast is at 6:30. Lunch is at 11:30. This is what I'm doing. Every aspect of my day is.
And then after work, I got to run to the PX, or I got to run to the commissary.
Yeah.
Or I've got to run into this appointment across base.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's that microcosm.
Mm-hmm.
It's that small group, that tribe that you lose.
Yeah. And, in the firehouse, right? Who did you hang out with outside of work?
Oh, fireman.
Okay.
Fireman.
Who did you go do things with?
My wife was a nurse, right? So my friend group was firemen, cops, and nurses. And that was just the way it was.
Yeah.
Right? You feel comfortable. You're not alone. You're with like people. You're with like-minded groupings that understand how that works together, right? And then when you step away from that, when you move from Fort Campbell back to Cincinnati, and you've got, the whole city is your base now. You don't know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to know everybody. You don't want to know everybody. And yeah, everybody, it's back to everybody's connected, but not.
Yep.
Everybody's connected, but not present.
And that,
and that's where that social media is not connection.
well, and that's I think everyone, right? How well do most people know their neighbors?
I couldn't tell you my neighbors' names on either side of me when I lived in Kentucky, but 2 houses up were Ed and Bill, and they were freaking amazing, right?
Yeah.
And they were part of my group. Didn't know my neighbors around, but knew them. And yeah, so they became part of my group. They became part of my tribe.
Yeah. And that's a very common thing, right? The community that, you know, King of the Hill, right? That's all his neighbors,
Yep.
right? That knowing all of your neighbors that existed, that Leave It to Beaver, right? Knowing your neighbors,
Well, I
that
remember my grandma's house had this massive front porch, right? It's an old home. Old homes had massive front porches. Now they're a couple steps to a door.
yeah,
And you've got the back is your massive
that
porch.
you hang out without being part of your community.
Correct.
So that sense of community is gone. So I feel like that, why loneliness is so common in our society is we've talked about it, the lack of connection, the lack of, you know, going and introducing yourself to your neighbors. New, old, doesn't matter if you've been there for 5 years, 50 years, or 5 minutes. Introduce yourself. Yeah, and it's hard,
Ed
right?
and Bill had a big front porch.
Who?
Ed and Bill, my neighbors.
Okay, see?
Right?
Yep.
I had the small porch. They had the big porch. We all hung out on their porch.
And it's that sense of community, and that's why I think it's so common. And I think it's common with people in the military, people who are first responders, people who live lives of service, because it's a different lifestyle than most people engage in. And so there's not a lot of commonality. There's not a lot of touch points that you have in common with everybody else. And so you tend to surround yourself with those people and with those ideals, and because it's easy,
Right.
because it's
easy to be hyper vigilant. It's easy to withdraw.
yeah, well,
And those aren't flaws. For us, it's learned survival behavior. And that's uncommon outside of service work. But, you can still find it.
you have to go look for it. And that's what I'm learning right now, right? Forcing myself to go to trivia nights,
Right?
forcing myself to go out to social events that I'm like, I'd rather not do this.
Right.
So,
So finding your people again,
mhm.
right? You've mentioned trivia. What else has helped you start reconnecting?
The neighborhood I'm in, I've got lot of very like-minded, similar people. I've got neighbors who all were in the Coast Guard. I've got a neighbor who did law enforcement for years. So very easy for me to talk to them and interact with them and do things with them. It's been slow for me. Part of it, with the kids, doing sports and having activities, getting to know people in that way. Making connections at work, right? Something that I didn't do when I first started. Actively trying to go do things, making it a priority, right? Making it a priority to interact outside of my little world.
Yep.
And
Expanding it
yeah,
again, right? Back to where it was almost before you joined the military, right? I remember the world being huge and mysterious and full of like opportunity and full of, the greatest things that I could ever imagine. And then I joined the military. And it got really small because I started to see what the rest of the world was. And, for us, in the military, law enforcement, fire, medical side of everything, you're not always seeing the best. And so that pushes you to withdraw. So one of the things that, I do is I make sure that I go to trivia. I make sure that my support group and my friend group has been really small for a very long time. And up here, I've started to grow. I've started to build that support group. I've started to meet people. I'm going out. I'm no longer just pigeonholed to this broken puddle of crap that I was for a really long time, right? And getting out amongst people who are like, dude, you're going through the same shit everybody is. You're doing just fine. Look at these people. Look at these people. You're heads and shoulders above them because you're doing the work and you're putting in the effort to not be this withdrawn, lonely person, right? Yeah.
I think that's the key, right? It's doing the hard thing, putting in the work. Not saying you're putting in the work, but actually doing the things that you don't want to do, that feel uncomfortable, that feel dangerous, and it's scary, right? When you pull back so far, you build up a wall,
Right.
right? And because behind that wall, no matter how tough you are, no matter how high speed, low drag you are, everybody is vulnerable and fragile and
You're not high speed, low drag at everything.
no. But I mean, you get what I mean, right? Like,
I do. And that's what I'm saying, right? Is you can be that tough, all going, I want to be just like him, but what's he got in his brain? What's his world look like to him?
yeah. And, being afraid is okay. Being
It's necessary.
being afraid to open up to somebody new, to somebody like this is a frightening concept because I know I'm laying things out there that I don't necessarily share,
Right.
and they're not things that I would normally share. I don't know about you with that, but for me, like I'm not somebody who wants to share things. So part of the work that I do is share,
Right.
right? Like I don't necessarily like it. It's not comfortable. It feels very vulnerable, a position that nobody likes to be in, and a position that for years you've been trained not to put yourself in, right?
Correct.
But here I am trying to do this work in the hopes that it'll help somebody else.
Right. Big, small, right? I have my service dog, in training. He's a goober.
He's wonderful.
He's fucking wonderful. And with him around, I'm never alone, right? I've always got that constant companion with me, and that helps, right? Even if I'm getting that glaring look, like, what is that bald, bearded freak over there about to do? I don't know. I'm gonna do a thing, right?
Walbert.
But with him there, you know, I'm good, and most people around me are good. Um, the podcast, really, this has helped. I don't like sharing. I don't like being open. I don't like being vulnerable. I don't like putting everything out there, but it's the work. And if me sharing my work and me showing the effort that I'm putting into is helping others, worth it. Worth it. Again, uh, I've I've done it. I've gone through it. You've gone through it. Others have gone through it, and here to help others is actually really selfish because I'm just helping myself. Sorry, guys. It's selfish. Y'all are helping me help me, and help me help him, and him help me. And that's part of it, right?
Sharing the load,
It's that sharing the load,
being interconnected.
right?
Yeah. And I think, I don't know that I'd use the word selfish. It's not a selfish thing to want to heal. And when you are healing, if you can help others, again, that is selfless,
Right.
right? Putting, so I wouldn't use the word selfish. I would definitely, I need to find a thesaurus, find some antonyms for selfish, and we can apply those.
Yes.
But it's not a one-way street. It's not all giving, right?
No.
And that I think is understood, right? This is part of the healing process for you, for me, for hopefully for you guys out there. That's the goal. Sharing things like this, like our stories and things that we do to try to improve and to get mentally healthy. Is sort of the idea, right? Hopefully, if sharing can help one person, just one of you, we've won,
Right.
right? That's a win, right? And in the jobs that we did and the services that we were part of, wins are hard to come by.
It can be.
I feel like my experience was a lot more L's than W's.
Oftentimes, it can feel like that.
Yeah. So and maybe it wasn't that way, but it's the L's that stick with you.
Yes.
It's the losses,
The wins are amazing, but you won. Why would you ever dwell on the win?
Yeah, you don't.
You dwell on the loss.
Yeah.
I didn't do this step right. I fucked this up.
I
could have done this. I should have done this.
Why didn't I do this?
Why didn't I do?
Yeah. How and then they build a foundation of, well, I'm never going to do this again because.
Right.
And so that is what sticks with you and what you remember. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So homework for you guys. Comment down below. What are some things? How have you felt lonely? Like, what do you do to not feel lonely? How are you reconnecting? What are you doing to reconnect? What are you doing to stay in touch? Right? And I hate the idea of, and I see it all the time, right? Well, it's a telephone. You can reach out for me. Sometimes I'm not strong enough to reach out. Reach out. Touch somebody and talk to them, right? I've got friends that I know are going through stuff back home. They've left the service, right? And, I do what I can to reach out and tap them and see how they're doing and, let them know that I still love them. I still miss them, right? I'm 8 hours away, but you're not forgotten. Yeah.
I've got a little more homework. Not much, just a little one. Call someone. Call someone that you served with, that you know that you haven't spoken to in a while. Reach out to them. And it's hard. I'm terrible at it. Anybody that really knows me will let you know I am awful at reaching out, at staying in contact, because it's hard and it's
hard.
work, and
It's just something else you have to do.
Yep.
In addition to what you've already got going on. However, you may find that you needed that conversation more than they did.
Yeah. So reach out to someone. Again, comment below
Yes.
how you deal with things, but extra homework. This is for extra credit, right? Reach out to somebody, give them a call, send them a message, whatever it is. Yeah.
And then hit like and subscribe.
Those things.
Turn on your bell for notifications. All those things that we should be saying, and I don't. But
what is it? Smash that like and subscribe button.
Smash that like and subscribe button.
I'm too old to say that.
Catch that Riz.
Oh my gosh.
Catch that Riz.
On God, fam. No cap. We have teenage children, if you can't tell.
And they slay.
Yeah. Oh.
But I guess, that's kind of what this podcast is about, right? It's reminding people that, you're not crazy. You may be a little crazy, Penn, but you're not crazy. You're not broken, even if you feel broken. You're just not put together the same way as somebody else. And that's completely okay. And you are definitely not the fuck alone.
No. And remember, what you're feeling is normal, right? Good, bad, in between. It's normal. It's okay. You're allowed to feel that way. If you need help, ask for help. We posted some links in our last episode. We're going to post them in this episode.
Those links are going to be in every description down below. From here going forward, somebody reached out and asked us to make sure that we put those in. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Right? Because that was a miss on us, on me.
On both of us.
On both of us.
Yeah.
And so they will be in every description from here forward. You will find the crisis line. You will find 988. You will find the National Suicide Line. And then on the other side of the page, there's that comment section where if you reach out, one of us
we will get back to you.
Is going to get back to you. And if it's even just like, hey man, really like to catch up. Perfect. Got you. Heard.
We will reach out to you and get in contact.
Yep.
And if there are any other things that you're looking for, remember, you don't have to be necessarily in crisis to call or reach out to those links that we've put up. You could just be having a hard time, right? You may not, it may just be a rough day. Reach out to them. They want to hear from you. They want to help you. If there are other things that you want us to talk about, other things that you want us to, links that you want us to put out there, let us know. And we'll make sure that they're available. So
things you want us to read?
Yeah, again, we need more book reports.
Coming.
So
soon.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I think
it's where we are. There we are then.
There we are then. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Again, hope that you're enjoying it. Thanks for staying this long. We love you, and we'll see you next time.